Hi, it's Sandy Wyllie. Welcome to my mental health channel, You Got This, where I wipe away the stigma of mental illness by talking about my own personal struggles, having borderline personality disorder. I talk about narcissism, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, and schizophrenia, bipolar, and a plethora of other mental health issues. What I don't have is a degree in psychology. So I cannot offer you any professional opinion. I cannot diagnose you. I can only share with you my own personal struggles as a former patient of almost 20 years. And all I ask of you in return is please to show kindness and respect in the comments below. Please be kind to me, be kind to others, and be kind to yourself. We don't have to agree on everything, but we do need to agree on showing each other respect and kindness. Now, if you are new to my channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you hit that subscribe button. If you like what you see, hit the like button. Okay, let's get into it. Today, what I'm going to talk about is when your therapist is not healed themselves. Okay. They can do irreparable harm. And this has happened to me over and again in therapy. So I want you to learn from my experience so that it doesn't have to happen to you. I was severely sexually abused, physically abused, exploited, verbally, mentally, abused in several therapies by several psychologists because these therapists were not healed themselves. A lot of people go into this field because they have scars and wounds, they've had abusive upbringings, and they really want to fix themselves. That's what they want to do. I know they're there to fix you, but they really want to fix themselves. That's why they go into this profession. A lot of them do. Now, if you're one that has a wonderful childhood, no mental health issues whatsoever, and you just went on solely to help other people, great. I'm not saying that everyone is that way. I'm saying a good majority are that way. Oh, now, is that better? What I wanted to share with you are the signs that your therapist is wounded, because a wounded healer cannot help you. Okay? It's like the blind leading the blind. Not only can they not help you, but they can harm you. They can do irreparable harm that damages you, re-traumatizes you over again. And I don't want to see this happen to you. There's always the telltale signs of someone that is not healed, someone that is mentally ill themselves, someone that has a lot of deep-rooted problems that they haven't done enough of the work on themselves to be able to help other people. I think every therapist should always be in their own therapy. Every therapist should always be supervised. Every therapist should have colleagues that they can talk to about their work. I mean, they don't have to go into detail about their, they don't have to give away patient information because they can't break HIPAA. But they have to have someone to go to bounce things off of. Other people, professional people out there who will be able to help them when they're struggling. And every therapist, even very good, mentally sound and healthy therapist, struggles from time to time in their therapy with patients. They might have issues with the transference. All transference is your feelings about someone in your past that you put on someone in your present. Transference is in every relationship, just not in therapy. Okay? Without you even being aware of it, it's unconscious. You might fall in love with someone who's abusive to you because they remind you unconsciously. You know, it's not something you're aware of doing of the way your father treated you. Your father always say he belittled you. He made you feel inferior. And so then you end up falling in love with a man that belittles you and makes you feel inferior because you're repeating the past pattern that you have with your father. And you're not even consciously aware of this, okay, that you're doing it, but you are doing it. Take up Psychology 101. Anyway, this is what happens out there in every relationship. And it can happen, and transference is a very big part of therapy. But the psychologist is trained. They went to school for many, many years. You know how many years it takes? Bachelor degree, doctorate degree, then internship, residency. I mean, it takes a very long time for a psychologist to get his doctorate degree in psychology. All right, it isn't something, you know, that happens overnight. And they're trained to know all about transference. Countertransference is when they have feelings, the psychologist has feelings about you relating to someone in their past. You remind them of someone in their past, so they act on those feelings. If they act on those feelings, they're unethical, all right? Number one thing, sex in therapy never is okay. There is no such thing as falling in love with your therapist, because you can never fall in love with your therapist, all right? You don't even know who your therapist is. Even if they share some information with you about their life, that's called self-disclosure. A lot of them share, you know, information about themselves, especially if they have a home office. It's very easy to see, to know more about them. But their role is to be there solely for you. You went to them for mental health, all right? They're in a professional role. They're in a role of power. You know, it's a fiduciary relationship. They hold power and trust over you. You don't hold, it's not an equal relationship at all, okay? It's just very similar to a parent and child, where the parent is responsible for the minor child. It's the same thing in therapy. That's why you can never, ever have sex in therapy. It is never, ever a relationship of equals. If the therapist has sex with the patient, or ends therapy to have sex with the patient, or has sex with the patient before 2 years, like mine did, before they, you know, they have no contact for 2 years. They can't end the therapy just to have a sexual relationship. They will lose their license. They will. In some states, they will go to prison behind bars. It's always malpractice, so you can sue them and get a big settlement. You know, you can go to the licensing board and they'll lose their license, all right? So there are laws out there, and licensing boards and lawyers to protect you, all right? They're set up to protect the consumer. You're the patient, you're the consumer. I just want you to know that. So if you see your therapist flirting with you, or, you know, run, because that's a big sign. If they're coming on to you, flirting with you, asking you out, they're never supposed to see you outside of the office, except in rare occasions, okay? Maybe if you're hospitalized, they would go visit you. So very, very rare occasions. On some occasions, they might attend your wedding, maybe once in a lifetime. It's rare occasions, but they're not supposed to be hanging out, go to the bar, go to a restaurant, have, you know, socialize with you outside of the office. And they know this too, you know. So it's very easy to be caught up in the erotic transference, because they're there, they're paid to listen to you, that's their job. They're paid not to judge you, that's their job. So, and the space is supposed to be held for you and only you. You know, they're not supposed to be talking about themselves. They're not supposed to be talking about their own history or their own problems. Like Dr. James Barbaria would talk about how his father would beat him up, how his mother would make him kneel on the floor all day on a hard wooden floor where his knees would be, you know, near breaking, because imagine hours on a hard wooden floor on your knees, waiting there for his dad to come home and knowing he'd be beaten until he got welts. The mother would, she was passive aggressive, she was narcissistic, she gave him the silent treatment. If he did something that, if he didn't like the dinner, for instance, the mother wouldn't speak to him for days on end, not say a word to him. That's a silent treatment. Narcissists are very good. So, but he's not supposed to be telling me this. Even if he can relate to what I'm telling him. When I told him my mother beat me up and left welts on me, even though, you know, he shares a very similar history with me, he should never mention that, okay? That his history and his life is off the table, okay? This is my therapy, and it's solely about me. And if he can relate to it because he has a similar history, then maybe he can show some compassion for me, or, you know, understand me better because he went through it. But he's never supposed to share that information with me, okay? I'm not supposed to be, you know, listening to his problems, to his history with women, you know, how they dumped him, how they broke his heart, you know, that's never supposed to happen, or his abusive past, you know. That's not supposed to be there, you know. He is not healed. He needs to go into his own therapy. And if you're that much damaged, like Dr. James Barbaria, the best thing to do is to refer your patient out, because rather than ruin her life and have sex with her, right, and dump all your problems on her, it's best to go into your own therapy, which you already should be in, because I told you in the beginning that I think every therapist should be in their own therapy. That's a big thing. Every therapist should have a supervisor. Even if you have your own home private office, you should still have a supervisor that you go to and talk about your caseload. I think this is very important. When you think you know all the answers, you don't. Okay? When you think you can handle it all, you can't. It's always good to have this set up in place before you need it, you know? You shouldn't wait till you get desperate enough to need it. And it would have been better off if he referred me out before taking advantage of me. If he said, there's something going on with this patient, I feel like having an affair with her, I can't control these feelings I'm having, then he needs to refer me out, and he needs to get into his own therapy and talk about this. But because he's still wounded, he still can't handle the transference. And it said that in the lawsuit I had, and I won the settlement too, that he could not handle the transference. And this is such a shame, because they are taught, these psychologists are taught for years and years about transference, for years and years that they can never have sex with their patient, that it's always malpractice, that they'll always lose their license. It's career suicide. Career suicide. Once you cross that line, you throw your career away. You throw it away. All right? And you destroy not only your life, but you destroy the life of the patients too. My life has been destroyed. I'm trying to piece by piece, put the pieces back together now, years and years later. It took me years and years just to figure out about the abuse, because I didn't know anything about. I thought I was in a relationship because Dr. Richard Geist convinced me I was responsible, convinced me I was in a relationship of, equal footing, that I was equally responsible. But I was a wounded person, okay, very wounded from a traumatic history, going to another very wounded person who is not healed. And it was like putting two toddlers in the room and then leaving the house and saying, okay, have fun, bye. And what do you think is going to happen if you put two 2-year-olds alone and leave? Right? So what was happening was two wounded people who were not healed. The doctor was supposed to be healed, and he wasn't healed. This is what happens when your therapist is unhealed. So look for those signs. Look for him trying to make you feel special, flirting with you, saying you're special. Those are the words to watch out for. You're special, extra flirting with you. You're beautiful. You look lovely in that dress. Oh, you're so smart. Any kind of words like that, flirting like that, false flattery like that, watch out for those things. They should never see you outside of the office except on very, very rare occasions. If you're hospitalized, if you're had a breakdown and you're in the mental hospital, something like that, and they came for a visit, I think that's all right. Or if you've known them for years and you invite them to your wedding and they make an appearance, they don't stay for the whole thing. Certain things are right, but they should not see you outside of the office. All right? They should not have any contact to you. Dr. Richard Geist went to the park with me, enrolled on the grass with me, laying on the grass with me. Of course, I had sex with Dr. James Barberia for 2 years. He took me out to dinner. He took me to the bars. He introduced me to dirty martinis. Okay? He's the one who got me hooked on vodka by introducing me to dirty martinis. I never drank vodka before before both of them, Dr. Richard Geist and Dr. James Barberia. They both really turned me on to alcohol, and I became alcoholic. And now I'm putting back the pieces, slowly putting back the pieces all by myself, because too many therapists out there are wounded. They are not healed, and I'm not ever going to take another chance on going to one like that, even though I know all the red flags and all the signs now about the, making me feel special, all the flattery, and touch. A therapist should never touch you, okay? If you ask for a hug on special occasions, all right, but they should never touch you. Dr. Richard Geist, stay on the couch with me, on the floor with me. I was just floored. The first time he came on the couch with me, he put his arm around me and started flirting with me and looking seductively in my eye. It's like I should have known right then and there that was wrong. It was so, you feel so wonderful and special and loved and attractive, and in the moment, it's just so, it feels so good in the moment, but it isn't good. It's destructive. And it's harmful. It isn't good at all. It will re-traumatize you and destroy your life. Believe me, I've been there. I felt it was wondrous in the beginning too. I felt, special, and I felt high as a kite. I felt like adored by this older doctor from Harvard. I was like, wow, he thinks this of me? Like, wow. It made me feel good about myself. But coming out the other end, it was a horror show. A horror show. So, beware of those doctors who are not healed themselves, okay? A person who is mentally healthy will not be telling you anything about their own life. They will not be touching you. They will not be seeing you outside the sessions. They will not use flattery on you, because flattery is not part of therapy. Hear that? Flattery is not part of therapy. You're beautiful. You're special. You're intelligent. None of that is part of therapy. Touching is never part of therapy. Seeing the patient socially outside, and sex is never, ever, ever. That includes kissing, touching body parts, like breasts or buttocks, or, your privates, that is never, ever allowed. And I did that with both men, Dr. Richard Geist and Dr. James Barberi. I touched their privates. And I went all the way with Dr. James Barberi. So I should have seen these signs. I should have saw the flattery, the love bombing they did, making me feel adored and special and making me feel high as a kite, like, wow, I must be something else. If these doctors, think I'm beautiful, if they think I'm intelligent, if they're giving me all this flattery, wow, that made me feel great in the beginning, right? But then when they exploited me and abused me, that's when the shit hit the fan, and I realized by talking to other people, by reading the literature, by years away from the abuse, realized that that was not at all a relationship. That was not at all flattery. That was abuse. Plain and simple. It was abuse. And it can destroy your life because it nearly destroyed mine.